Hi Year 8, it's Mrs. Dyer. I'm at home and I'm going to be taking you through the process of making Welsh cakes, which is your first homework. We're asking you to do this at home, so I'm at home myself and I'm going to make Welsh cakes with you. First thing I've done is I've laid out all of my equipment and all of my ingredients. I'm going to go through all of them with you now. You're going to need some sort of mixing bowl to mix your ingredients together. You will need to weigh your ingredients, so I've got my weighing scales here. And my ingredients, my self-raising flour, my butter, my caster sugar. I've gone with chocolate chips that are going to go in my Welsh cakes. You can have them plain, you can have raisins, sultanas, you can have anything you want really. A measuring jug to measure my milk, and my eggs going to go in there as well. Once everything's been combined in my mixing bowl, it's going to be rolled out, so I've got a rolling pin. I need to cut them out. I can't find my cookie cutter, so I've just gone with a cup that I have in my cupboard, and I've got my palette knife. I'm going to use that palette knife when we cook them in the frying pan. If you haven't got a palette knife, a regular spatula is fine. Just make sure you've got someone with you to help you with the cooking part of it. So I've got everything laid out. It's all easy to get to. And I'm going to start by measuring my flour and butter. I need 225 grams of flour and 100 grams of butter, and once I've weighed those out, they're going in my mixing bowl. Flour and my butter have gone into my mixing bowl. And we're going to use what we call the rubbing method to mix these ingredients together. So you're just going to get your fingertips and rub the butter and the flour together, and you're just rubbing your fingertips using the rubbing method to bring it together. You can use two hands. I'm just using one hand because my other hand is filming. And you just keep going and going and going until the butter and the flour have combined. I'm just using my fingertips. The palm of my hand is clean. It's just my fingertips that I'm using to bring this together. And when it's finished, it'll look like breadcrumbs. So I'll come back and show you when it's all come together. As you can see, my mixture has come together, the flour and the butter. Breadcrumbs, that's what it needs to look like. It does take a long time to get to this stage, so please be patient, but this is the hardest and the longest process that you'll have to go through. So I've got my butter and flour. I've now weighed out my sugar and my chocolate chips. 50 grams of sugar, 50 grams of chocolate chips, or if you're using any type of currant, any dried fruit, 50 grams. If you want to leave them plain, you don't need the, obviously, chocolate chips or currants or anything, but you still need the sugar to give it sweetness. So that just goes now in there. Ooh, got a chocolate chip. And you just give that a little mix. You can use your hands, you can use a spoon if you want, just to kind of mix that in a little bit. Okay, now we're going to look at our wet ingredients. In my measuring jug, I've got milk and an egg, 3 tablespoons of milk and 1 egg. And I'm just going to quickly give it a little bit of a whisk so it combines. I'll do this quite quickly. Be about fine, okay? Top tip, I went through with this with you in class. You're going to add the milk and egg a little bit at a time. Don't rush in and plonk it all in. You might end up with a really wet and sticky mixture. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of my milk and egg, and then I'm going to get my hand in there and start bringing the mixture together. It is a messy job, as you can see by the state of my hands. But as you can see, we're starting to get this dough together, the dough that will make our Welsh cakes. So you can use your hands, you can use a spoon if you'd prefer, but at some point you are going to get your hands dirty, so it might as well be now, okay? So you're just bringing it together. So you can see it's starting to stick together. It's not as loose, and that is kind of the consistency we're aiming for. So I'm just going to keep going until I'm happy with the consistency of my dough. It shouldn't be too sticky, and it shouldn't be at this stage where it's still falling apart. You want it to come together a little bit more. Okay, there's my dough. all come together in the bowl. And if you can see, I haven't used all of my milk and egg. And that's why it's important for you to only put in a little bit at a time and see how you go. Mine is slightly stickier than I would like, but it's still good. If I went ahead and just put all the milk and egg in, we'd be in a right mess. So we're in a pretty good stage at the moment. We're now going to transfer the dough onto a floured surface. So on my worktop, I've put a little bit of self-raising flour down. And that's where, oops, my dough is now going to go. All right, there's a few excess bits, you can bring those out, kind of work them in. Okay, so you're just going to try and let the dough soak up a little bit of the flour. If your mixture is really, really wet, you know, you can't even touch it without it coming away in your hands, keep adding the flour until you get to this stage where you can work with it. It's not coming away in my hands. I can move it about so I know it's all come together. I'm just letting it pick up a little bit of flour just to stabilize it a little bit more. And now we're going to start rolling it out. I am going to put a little bit of flour onto my rolling pin so the dough is not going to stick to my rolling pin, and the flour that's on the table means it's not going to stick to the table either. We're going to roll it out, and then once I've done that, I'll come back and show you how to cut it out and make the most of your dough. We're going to use it all out. My dough, nice and flat, not too thick, but not too thin either. And now we're going to start cutting out our Welsh cake. So I'm going to use my cup that I've got here. I don't know where my cookie cutters have gone, but it's okay. You can still use a cup even if you don't have a cookie cutter yourself. Just going to place it the wider side down. If you rotate it back and forth a little bit, it'll give you a little Welsh cake shape. Keep going and try and cut out as many as you can from this one piece of dough, okay? Just keep going and going and going. Pick up your little Welsh cake round, and then I'm going to put mine on a little chopping board that I've got here, okay? You can put them on a plate, just anything flat that you can move closer later to your oven or your where you're going to cook your Welsh cakes, basically, okay, the stove top. And just keep going. So I've managed to get 6 out first of all from the dough. But what we're going to do now is bring the rest of this dough back together, roll it back out, flat again, and then cut some more Welsh cakes, all right? Don't just give yourself 6. Use up this dough, you've bought the ingredients, don't waste it. Bring it back together, we're going to roll it back out, and we're just going to keep cutting and cutting, bringing it back together, rolling it out, cut again until we use up all of the dough. And you should have about 12 Welsh cakes hopefully in total. So here are my lovely cut out Welsh cakes. As you can see, no dough left. I've used it all up. This one's a little bit bigger and a little bit squishier than the other ones. It didn't have enough just to make one Welsh cake the same size as the rest, so I've kind of just squashed that together myself by hand so I don't use or lose any or waste any dough. So I've managed to get 12 in total. If you can't get 12, please don't panic. If you can, great. It will all depend on the size of your cutter. So if your cup or your cutter is bigger or smaller, you can get more or less. But please don't worry, okay? That is about the thickness that you want, okay? And I'm going to go over now to the hob, and we're going to cook these. So you will need a frying pan, your palette knife or your spatula, whatever you've got. Welsh cake's ready to go. We're by the hob. Here's my frying pan. I'm just heating it up. This is where you will need an adult supervising you, okay? Because if you're not confident using your stove top, your hob, if you're not comfortable with the heat or having a frying pan this hot, completely understand, you will need adult supervision, okay? No oil or anything in the pan. You can use your hand to kind of measure. I am holding it above the pan. I'm not actually touching the pan, so please don't do that. But you can kind of test it. I'm kind of happy that that is going to be hot enough now. So what you do, you just simply take your Welsh cake and place it very gently in the pan. Now you can do 2 or 3 at a time, depending again on the size of your pan. And we're looking for a nice golden brown colour. I'm doing this one-handed. Please don't do it one-handed at home. So the palette knife or your spatula is going to be used to check when and if your Welsh cakes have turned a golden brown colour. I don't think that's the case there. If you can see there, look, because I'm using chocolate a little bit, the chocolate's just gone on the pan. Totally normal. The chocolate is going to melt slightly because it's being heated up. Okay, not yet, but as you can see, that chocolate is melting and heating. So we're looking for a nice golden brown colour. Keep peeking, keep looking. When they turn golden brown, that's when you know you need to flip them over. Flip mine over. This one got a little bit squashed, but we make mistakes, okay? The first one's always going to be a little bit of trial and error with the heat. This one's looking pretty good, nice golden brown colour, so I flip them over and we're just making sure that the other side is cooked as well. The more you do it, the more Welsh cakes go in, you will pick up a good rhythm, a good technique, and they will come out better. Even I make mistakes with this squash. Show the other side, lovely golden brown. I've actually changed to a spatula, I can get more of a better flip to avoid any more squashed ones like that. Lovely golden brown colour. They're going to come out and I'm going to just keep going 3 at a time until all my Welsh cakes get cooked. Here are my finished Welsh cakes. Lovely golden brown, the chocolate slightly melted, and I've just arranged them on this plate, and all you have to do then is take a photo of that presentation, lovely, with all your Welsh cakes on a plate or some sort of board, and then upload that onto Class Charts. I hope you enjoy making them, I hope you enjoy eating them, and that is your Welsh cake recipe for Wales.